Imagine you are deep in the wilderness, completely alone, and the sun has just dipped below the horizon. The air turns cold. You have no weapons, no shelter, and no fire. Exhaustion takes over. Your eyes grow heavy, and you fall fast asleep on the open ground. To the human brain, this scenario is a literal death sentence. We have been conditioned to see apex predators, like lions, wolves, and leopards, as hyper-aggressive, flawless hunting machines. We assume they are constantly scanning the darkness, waiting for a target to lower its guard, ready to strike the moment weakness is detected. But evolutionary biologists tracking large carnivores in the wild have documented a phenomenon that completely shatters this assumption. Deep in the African savanna and the dense forests of Siberia, starving predators have walked right up to completely exposed, sleeping humans. They didn't roar, they didn't crouch to spring, and they didn't attack. They simply looked down at the helpless human, stood there for a brief moment, and then quietly turned around and walked away into the dark. This isn't a miracle, and it isn't mercy. It is a result of a cold, terrifyingly precise biological calculation. To understand why an apex predator would pass up a free meal, we first have to look at the world through their eyes. In the wilderness, life is governed by a strict mathematical law known as optimal foraging theory. For a predator, calories are currency, and every single hunt is a massive financial gamble. When a lion chases a zebra, it burns an immense amount of energy. If the zebra escapes, the lion loses that energy forever. If the lion gets kicked in the jaw by the zebra, a minor fracture can prevent it from hunting next week, resulting in a slow, painful death by starvation. In the wild, injury equals death. Because of this, predators are incredibly risk-averse. They do not look for a fight. They look for a guarantee. They target the sick, the old, the very young, or animals they have hunted for thousands of years, because their instincts know exactly how those animals will react. But a human being sitting or sleeping in the middle of nowhere represents a massive, terrifying question mark to a wild animal. When a predator spots a sleeping human, their instinct doesn't register food. It registers danger. Think about how a human looks compared to the rest of the animal kingdom. We are primates that stand upright on two legs, and this vertical posture makes us look unnaturally tall and imposing. More importantly, we lack the standard physical traits of traditional prey. We don't have massive horns, we don't have hooves, we don't have thick fur, and we don't smell like a deer or an antelope. To a wild predator, humans look incredibly bizarre and alien. When you fall asleep in the wild, you also violate the fundamental rules of prey behavior. Traditional prey animals are hypervigilant, sleeping in herds, waking at the slightest sound, and fleeing instantly. A human sleeping flat on their back, completely still, sending out zero signals of panic or flight, creates a massive psychological trigger in a predator's mind known as an aposematic warning signal. When an animal behaves in a way that makes no sense, a predator assumes it's a trap. Their brain begins a rapid risk assessment, wondering why this creature is not running, if it is toxic, or if it is playing dead to lure them into an ambush. Because the predator cannot answer these questions, the potential reward of a few calories is heavily outweighed by the catastrophic risk of the unknown, forcing them to choose survival over curiosity and walk away. The mystery goes even deeper than basic caution, reaching into a historical trauma burned into the genetic code of modern predators over 100,000 years. Humans have not always been at the top of the food chain. For millennia, our ancestors were actively hunted by megafauna, including monsters like the saber-toothed cat and the giant short-faced bear. However, early humans did something no other animal on Earth could do by adapting through collective intelligence. We didn't grow bigger claws. Instead, we learned to manipulate fire, throw projectiles with lethal velocity, and hunt in highly coordinated, vengeful packs. If an ancient predator attacked a single human, the rest of the human tribe didn't run away forever. They tracked the predator down, surrounded it, and eliminated it. Over tens of thousands of generations, predators that actively sought out humans as prey were systemically wiped out of the gene pool. The predators that survived are the ones that possess a healthy, instinctive fear of us. When a wild tiger or wolf encounters a human today, they aren't just looking at an individual creature. They are looking at the descendant of the apex species that conquered the planet, driven by an ancestral memory, whispering a single command to leave it alone. However, this unwritten ceasefire in nature only works under one strict condition. The illusion must remain unbroken. There are tragic exceptions to this rule, and they usually occur for two reasons. The first is age and injury. When a predator becomes too old, loses its teeth, or suffers a crippling injury from an encounter with its natural prey, it can no longer hunt. As starvation sets in, the animal is forced out of absolute desperation to abandon its instinctual caution. It approaches a human, realizes how physically weak and slow we actually are without our tools, and the illusion is shattered, which is exactly how infamous man-eaters are born. The second reason is much more common today, and it is entirely driven by habituation. When humans enter wild spaces and repeatedly feed wild animals, or leave garbage for them to scavenge, the mystery disappears. The animal stops associating humans with danger and starts associating them with a casual food source. The moment a predator loses its natural fear of us, the unspoken contract is voided and the ceasefire ends. The next time you look at a photograph of a massive wild predator, remember that they are not mindless killing machines driven solely by bloodlust. They are master logicians operating on a delicate balance of energy, risk, and ancient respect. The predator ceasefire is a profound reminder of our shared history on this planet. We are protecting the wild not by our physical strength, but by the lingering ghost of our ancestors' intelligence, a silent shield that keeps the shadows at bay, even while we sleep.